Dear students, today's topic, today's lesson is The Noble Bishop by Victor Hugo. We will be doing only part of it. In fact, we'll be doing scene 1 today, and we will continue in the next session. I put a quote up for you on the screen. Sometimes it takes only one act of kindness and caring to change a person's life. I will read it again for you. Sometimes it takes only one act of kindness and caring to change a person's life. That means if we are kind and compassionate and nice to somebody, even once, that can change the person's life. So it means that there is a very great incentive for us to always be kind and compassionate to people, because you never know, we will just cheer them up, make them feel better, and they will be nice to somebody else, and then it has a ripple effect, and the whole world would be a better place. So we should always be kind and caring in whatever we say and whatever we do. That is the message of this quote. And you might be wondering why I have put this quote up for this lesson. It has got a great relationship with the lesson. It's going to tell us that how the kindness and caring of a noble person influences a convict. The Noble Bishop by Victor Hugo. Before we proceed, let's learn a little bit about the writer. Author, both the same thing. Victor Marie Hugo was born on 24th February 1802 in France. He was a French poet, novelist, and dramatist. He is considered to be one of the greatest and best known French writers. His most famous works are the novels Les Miserables and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, both of them are very famous. Like in USA and UK, this particular drama has been playing for at least 20 or 25 years. Every day they have the drama, and it is always houseful. It is that famous. He passed away on 22nd May 1885 at the ripe old age of 83. You might be wondering why I put a cross there. Because bishop, he heads several churches. He's like a minister. He heads several churches. Such a person is called a bishop. A small church, a small congregation, if somebody heads that, he's called a pastor. And just like the priest, we have the priests in our temples. So bishop is the head of the church. Just like we have the priests who head the temples, and there are mullahs who head the mosques. So bishop is the person who heads the many churches. And here we are talking about the noble bishop. Noble is somebody with very high qualities. Qualities like honesty, compassion, kindness. All the noble qualities are in this bishop, and we are going to read about him and what he did to change somebody's life. The whole thing is a drama. It's in the form of a drama. The characters in the drama, the people who are enacting in the drama, the main character, of course, is the bishop. Baptistine, the bishop's sister, Jean Valjean. Now you might be wondering why I'm pronouncing it in a different way. It looks like Jean Valjean, correct? But this is a French name. In France, Jean is pronounced as Jean, like Zhon, all right? So Jean Valjean, the convict, and a police sergeant. I'm just going to give you a brief introduction of the story. Victor Hugo's The Noble Bishop. Now this story has been published in with many other names as well. It is also under the name of the Bishop's Candlesticks. I'm sure some of you might have read it, or at least your parents might have read it, because it is a very famous story. In this book, it has been given the title, The Noble Bishop. Victor Hugo's The Noble Bishop is a story of how a bishop's love, kindness, and generosity to an ex-convict, Jean Valjean, influences him to lead an honest life. Jean Valjean had spent 19 years in the galleys for stealing a loaf of bread for his sister's hungry children. He had been treated like an animal and had lost his human qualities. When he was released, he roamed around looking for work, but people shut their doors on him. He was hungry and desperate. In this situation, he enters the bishop's house. The bishop is about to have his dinner with his sister, Baptistine. Now let us listen to the conversation between the bishop and Jean Valjean. Now briefly let me explain the introduction to you because there are some words which you may not understand. Convict is somebody who has been in prison. Ex-convict means somebody who has served his sentence in prison and has been released. That's what it means. And this is a story about how the bishop influences Jean Valjean, who is an ex-convict, to become an honest person. Now, let's know a little bit about Jean Valjean. He had spent 19 years in the galleys. Now, galleys are ships where the prisoners are used to row the ship. Remember, those days people had to row the ship to go from one place to another, and it is very hard work. From morning till night, you have to keep on rowing. It's very difficult to do it, and they are not looked after nicely. So prisoners used to be sent to the galleys, that is the ships where they were used to row them. So he was in the galleys not for 1 or 2 years, for 19 years. And what was the crime he committed? He stole a loaf of bread, a piece of bread. And why did he steal it? To feed his sister's hungry children. Just for that little crime, it's not even a crime, really. He just stole a piece of bread, and for that he was sentenced to 19 years in prison. You can imagine what a harsh punishment that was. So when he was released, he went around looking for something to do so that he can earn something and eat. You need to earn money to buy food, isn't it? But people shut their doors. Oh, you are an ex-convict, we can't let you in. Nobody would give him a job. The inns means INNS, that's where he went. Those are like hotels. He went to several hotels. Nobody would even allow him in because they were scared. Oh, you are an ex-convict, we can't let you in. So he was desperate. He was hungry and desperate. Desperate means he had given up hope. He would do anything to get some food. So this was the situation when he entered a bishop's house. Before we go on to the conversation, let's look at the glossary. I always put up the glossary first. Glossary means difficult words. Now, for some of you, these words may not be difficult. Those who come from Kannada medium, they might find it difficult. And if you find the meanings difficult, please refer your Kannada dictionary, English to Kannada dictionary. Make sure you understand the meanings of all the words. Noble, having high moral character. So the main person in the lesson is the bishop, who is a very noble person. He has a very high moral character. Hoarsely, in a rough voice. Jean Valjean, I've given you how to pronounce it, to be pronounced as Jean Valjean. That's the name of the convict. Convict, a person imprisoned for a crime. Starving, suffering or dying from hunger. You're so hungry, so very, very hungry. Then you say you're starving. Alcove, a partly enclosed space in a room. I'll show you a picture of an alcove at the end. If you have a room, and in one end of the room or in one corner, there'll be a small area where you can put a bed or a sofa. That is called an alcove. There won't be a door or anything. It's just an attachment to a room. So it's a partly enclosed space in a room. Trembling is shaking, stifling a scream, suppressing or holding back a scream. When you're very scared, you want to scream, but you don't want to scream, you just hold back the scream. I'm sure a lot of, especially the girl students, if they see a cockroach, first thing, a scream will come out of the mouth, but you stifle the scream, you just hold it back because you know everyone will laugh at you. So stifling or means holding back a scream. Scream means shouting. Continuation, mantle, a shelf above a fireplace. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen a fireplace. A fireplace is usually found in cold countries. Cold countries, they have a room. One side, they have a fireplace where they burn the wood. Especially in those days, they did not have electricity. So they had to burn wood to keep themselves warm in winter because winters were very cold. So they would burn. And above the fireplace, there would be a shelf. And that is called the mantle. And on that shelf, you can keep a lot of things. You can keep candlesticks, you can keep photographs, you can keep books, you can keep anything you want. So mantle is a shelf, like you have all seen a shelf. But here, if it is above the fireplace, it is called a mantle. A great soul, a noble person, devour, eat something greedily. I'm sure you have seen, especially the dogs, if you give some food to a very hungry dog, what does it do? It just gulps it down. That is called devouring. Eat something very fast and greedily is called devour. Galleys, ship usually rowed by prisoners, like I told you before. Lashed, struck with a whip. If you strike somebody with a whip, that is called lashing. Lashed, struck with a whip. Hound, a type of dog used for hunting. So hounds are usually little ferocious. They're big dogs and they can even kill a person. They're very, very ferocious. So they are used for hunting. When people go for hunting animals, the kind of dogs they take are called hounds. Couch is a sofa. Now let's go to the lesson. I want you to listen to the conversation. In the first slide, you're going to hear the convict speak. And I want you all to imagine the situation. The convict, I told you a little bit about him. He has come, he has been released from prison and he's come, he cannot find work, he cannot find food, he's very hungry, he's a desperate man and he comes to the house of the bishop. So what is happening in the bishop's house? It is dinner time. Dinner time is in the evening, maybe like 6:37. The table is laid for dinner. Silver plates are set on the table. That is how they eat. You can see I put a picture there. You have the plates. And in foreign countries, they normally never eat with their fingers like we do. They eat with cutlery. They have forks and knives and spoons for eating. And you can see all kinds of cutlery there. And you use different spoons for different things. You have a separate spoon, a teaspoon for stirring the coffee. You have a dessert spoon to eat the food. Then you have a fork to eat the meat. They have all kinds of different material there to eat. And you can see it's fully laid out, all silverware. So the table is laid for dinner. Silver plates are set on the table. The bishop is seated. He's all ready to eat. His sister, Baptistine, is ready to serve. So she's just going to serve him the food. At that time, what happens? A convict enters.
See here, my name is John Valjean. I am a convict. I have been 19 years in the galleys. 4 days ago, I was set free. I have walked for miles. I haven't eaten anything for 3 days. I have asked at every inn. All I was told was, get out. I want food. I am starving. Give me food quickly.
I hope you understood what the convict says. So he says hoarsely, means in a rough voice. Remember, he's been in prison for 19 years. He's lost all his human qualities. He's like an animal. So he speaks in a very rough voice. He says, see here, my name is Jean Valjean. I am a convict. I have been 19 years in the galleys. 4 days ago I was set free. So how long ago was he set free? Just 4 days back. And he has walked for miles. 4 days he's been going here and there. And he hasn't eaten anything for 3 days. Why? Because nobody would give him food. Nobody would even let him inside. So he's desperate. I've asked at every inn. Inn is like a small hotel where you can go and eat. All I was told was get out. Nobody would even let him inside. I want food. I'm starving. Give me food quickly. That is what the convict says when he enters the bishop's home. Now let's see. Let's look at the conversation between the bishop and the convict.
Sister, put another plate on the table and put some sheets on the bed in the alcove. Friend, sit down and warm yourself. You may be tired. While we have supper, your bed will be made ready. Do you understand? I am a convict. You call me friend and don't say, get out dog, as everybody else does. You must be a great soul. Thank you. You are suffering. You are hungry and thirsty. You mustn't thank me. Sister, the lamp gives a very poor light. Bring the silver candlesticks and light them.
I hope you followed the conversation between the bishop and the convict. So, just imagine how good a person the bishop is. Now, just imagine a convict, even some stranger comes into your house, are you going to be calm? You're immediately going to scream and shout and do something, isn't it? But here, a convict, an ex-convict, has entered the bishop's house, and how is he? He's very calm. And what does he say? Sister, he's talking to his sister. Put another plate on the table and put some sheets on the bed in the alcove. Imagine, can you see his kindness? A person who has been in prison for so long, he has come and he is being so kind and compassionate to him. That shows why we call him the noble bishop. Now the sister, of course, is really terrified. She's trembling because this convict, you don't know what he will do. So she's trembling and she almost wants to scream out, but she's stifling the scream because she knows her brother will not be happy if she screamed. So she stifles a scream and she goes to carry out the orders. Orders means to put another plate and make a bed for him. Carry out the orders. Orders means what the bishop has told her she wants to do. Now look at the way the bishop addresses the person. He doesn't know who he is. He calls him friend. You know, such a nice way to address somebody you don't know. Friend, sit down and warm yourself. It's a cold evening, so the fireplace is on. There's fire there, wood burning fire. So he's saying, sit down and warm yourself. You may be tired. While we have supper, your bed will be made ready. See, he makes him feel so good and wanted, welcome. Now the convict could not understand. He is surprised. Everyone has not even let him in. They have told him to get out. And here this person is calling him a friend. And he says, do you understand? I'm a convict. And you call me friend? And you don't say get out dog. Most people will say get out dog. That's the bad word they use. But like everyone else does, you must be a great soul. You must be a great person to give me such a nice treatment. That's what he means. Now what does the bishop say? You are suffering. You are in great pain. You are hungry and you are thirsty. You must not thank me. Sister, the lamp gives a very poor light. Bring the silver candlesticks and light them. Remember those days there was no electricity. So whatever light you got was by lighting lamps in the night. So he says the lamp is not bright enough. Bring the silver candlesticks and light them so that the room becomes brighter. I hope everything is clear to you all so far. Baptistine goes to the mantle. Remember I told you what a mantle was. It is a shelf above the fireplace. You can just imagine the dining table is there on the side. Near the wall there's the fireplace, and above the fireplace there's a shelf, and the candlesticks are there and also other things. And the fireplace is there with the fire burning so that the room gets warm. There is no heating or anything those days. The only way you can get heat is by lighting some fire. And they put the wood there and light the fire. So she goes to the mantle, brings the silver candlesticks and lights them. She serves them supper, proper meal, soup, cheese, mutton and a large loaf of bread. The convict devours. He is so hungry, he just eats it very greedily and very fast.
You must have suffered a lot. My God, yes, that's a long time ago. That was when I was a man. Now, I am not a man. I am a number 24601. And I have lived in hell for 90 years. Tell me about it. About the hell you lived in. It's so long ago. I forget. I lived with my sister and her 7 children. Then, yes, I remember. She was ill. We had no food. I could get no work. The children were starving. So I stole some bread. I was sentenced to 90 years in the galleys. 90 years in hell.
So sad, isn't it? So the bishop tells him, you must have suffered a lot. So the convict has eaten, he's feeling a little better after eating all the food, and she has served really wonderful food, isn't it? Soup and cheese and mutton and bread, all the foods which make you feel satisfied. So he ate hungrily and he devoured everything, ate everything very fast, feeling little better. When we are very hungry and we eat, we always feel better. And look at the bishop, so nicely he speaks to him. You must have suffered a lot, he tells him like that. And the convict, he opens up to him. He tells him his story. Because here there is somebody who is compassionate, who has given him food, who is being kind to him. So he wants to tell him about his misery. He says, that was a long time ago. That was when I was a man. I was a man then. And now I'm not a man, I'm just a number. Because in the prison, I think you know, they give you numbers. A convict is not known by a name. Okay, this is you, the number. What was he? His number was 24601. Number 24601, come here. That's how they would call the people. So he was just a number. And he had lived in hell. Hell means the worst possible condition for 19 years. Can you imagine 19 years? Then the bishop says, okay, tell me about it. So usually when we have problems, we are unhappy, we tell somebody else about it, we feel better, isn't it? That's the case with all of us. I'm sure all of you, if you are upset about something, what would you do? You would tell your father or mother, or if you can't tell them, you will tell your friends, see, this is what happened. And once you tell somebody your problems, we always feel better. So the convict opens up to him and he tells him what happened. He said, I've even forgotten when it all happened. Then he dreamily thinks about it. And then he says, I lived with my sister and her 7 children, not 1 or 2, 7 children. And then he remembers, he says, very fast, rapidly means very fast. Yes, I remember. She was ill. She was sick. We had no food. I could get no work. I could not get any job. Only if you have a job, you can earn some money and buy food. There was no work for him. So the children were very hungry. They were starving. He did not know what to do. So he went and stole some bread. Like, is that any crime at all? Actually, if you're hungry and you steal bread, I personally don't think you should even consider that as a crime. But here, not only did they consider it as a crime, they jailed him for 19 years. Unimaginable period of time. And he starts crying. Can you imagine the pain he has been in for 19 years? He sobs, means crying loudly. You know, he was so unhappy. He is able to vent out all his feelings to the bishop. Let's continue and here listen to what he says.
Then began my stay in hell. They chained me up like a wild animal. They lashed me like a hound. I fed on filth for 19 years. 19 years. They took away my name. what I am. Now I am free to starve.
So you can see he talks about the unimaginable pain and suffering he has been through. He opens up to the bishop and tells him his story. He continues and he says, once he was jailed, he was in the galleys, rowing, or in the prison, treated very badly. It was like hell. Hell is the worst. In India, we say naraka. So it was like hell. They chained me like a wild animal. He was in chains, put chains on him. They lashed me like a hound, means whipped him, like you whip dogs. That's how they whipped him. I fed on filth. Filth means very dirty food which could not even be eaten, full of dirt and maybe worms, you don't know what kind of food, for 19 years. 19 years. So imagine somebody being so long, they lose their humanity. They are not humans anymore. They become like animals. They took away my name. He had even forgotten his name now. They took away my soul. Everything human in him is gone. And they gave me a devil in his place. Now I've lost all feelings. I'm not even a person anymore. I've become like an animal. I was a man once. I'm a beast now. I'm an animal now. And they are the ones who made me what I am. All for what? For stealing a loaf of bread to feed my sister's 7 hungry children. It is a very, very cruel thing to do, and he has been through hell for a very, very small reason. Now I'm free to starve. What do you mean by that? I'm free to starve. I've been set free now, but I'm going to starve because nobody is going to give me any work because they think I'm an ex-convict. None of the inns, none of the hotels are going to open and give me food. So I'm free now, but I'm going to starve to death. That is what it means. So he is really, really unhappy. Now let's see the conversation again.
My son, you have suffered much, but there is hope for all. You can have rest now.
Hope. Hope.
You have walked far. You are tired. Lie down and sleep on the couch there. Good night, young man.
All right, as you can see, the bishop feels very sorry for him. He's such a good person. He says, my son, look at the way he addresses him. That itself shows the compassion. First, he addressed him as friend. He did not say, hey, you, here, take this food. He did not do that. Friend, that was how he addressed him. He gave him the food. He shared with him all the food which they themselves ate. Then he's even allowing him to rest there. So now he says, my son, you have suffered so much, but there is hope. There is hope for all. Now you need your rest. Now the convict, he has lost hope in his life. He's been in so much of suffering, he doesn't believe in anything anymore. He says, hope, ha, ha, ha. What kind of hope are you talking about? Now the bishop says, you have walked a long way. You are tired. Lie down and sleep on the couch there. Good night. So I put the picture there intentionally so that you have a look at what an alcove looks like. This is the room, and on the side you see that little room there, small room without a door. It's not really another room. It's like an extension to the room, and there you can put a sofa or you can put a small bed. So that looks like a couch there, and his sister Baptistine, she has put some little bed on top of it so that the convict can rest there for the night. So that is how an alcove looks like. I hope the lesson is clear so far. It's a very heart-touching story. It really impressed me, and it had a great impact on my mind, and it made me feel that I should be as kind as possible to everyone when I interact with them. Now, I want to see how much you have listened. This is for the parents. I hope you're sitting there. I put a little quiz for you. I'm going to put it on the board also. It is mainly for the sake of the Kannada medium students who like to see the questions visually and then answer. Now, those of you who can just listen and answer to the questions, you can do so. Now, if you all get everything correct, that means you have listened. If you have got less, That means parents, beware, your child is just watching the screen, he's not listening. So that's a lesson for you also. Very easy one. If you are listening, it should be very simple. I will read each question twice. At the end of it, you have to put down the answer. It's very, very simple. Read the following statements. Write T if they are true and F if they are false. Got it? All right. Number 1. The convict was very hungry. If you think that statement is true, write a T next to it. Just write T in your answer paper. Or you can just put F if you think the statement is false. So number 1, the convict was very hungry. Number 2, Jean Valjean was in the galleys for 19 years. Number 2, Jean Valjean was in the galleys for 19 years. Number 3, all the people in the prison were kind to him. Number 3, all the people in the prison were kind to him. Number 4, the bishop offered stale food to the convict. Stale food means leftover food, old food, those who don't know the meaning. Number 4, the bishop offered stale food to the convict. Number 5, the bishop asked the convict to sleep outside the house. Number 5, the bishop asked the convict to sleep outside the house. I hope you got them all. Now let's look at the answers. Correct. If you got it right, 1 mark. If you got it wrong, no mark. Number 1, the convict was very hungry. True. Jean Valjean was in the galleys for 19 years. True again. Number 3, all the people were kind to him. No, they treated him like a dog, remember? False. Number 4, the bishop offered stale food to the convict. False. He offered him really good food, soup and cheese and mutton and loaf of bread, all the food which they themselves ate he offered. So this is false. Number 5, the bishop asked the convict to sleep outside the house. Again false. He asked him to sleep inside the house. Remember I showed you the picture of the alcove? He was sleeping inside. So I'm pretty sure all of you even followed it half-heartedly should have got it all correct. All right? So give yourselves a thumbs up if you got 5 out of 5. Key points. I always like to put the key points for you so that just looking at that you can kind of recap the whole story so far. A bishop was about to have dinner with his sister. What's her name? Baptistine. A convict named Jean Valjean enters and demands food. The bishop addresses him as friend and asks him to join them for the meal. Jean Valjean is very surprised to be treated so kindly. He's never enjoyed any kind of kindness for how many years? 19 years. He describes all that he has endured in the last 19 years in prison. The bishop is very sympathetic and offers a bed to Jean Valjean for the night. This is the story so far. We are going to continue with the rest of the story in the next session. Comprehension check. Answer the following questions in 2 or 3 sentences each. Number 1, you have to do this in your notebooks. Who was Jean Valjean? Number 2, who brought the silver candlesticks from the mantle? So make sure you answer the questions in at least 2 sentences, not in 1. You have to think and answer it in 2 sentences. What do you think were Jean Valjean's feelings when he was called friend? Number 4, why did Jean Valjean say that he was a beast? Number 5, what kind of a person was the bishop? Those are the 5 questions which you have to answer in 2 or 3 sentences each. Now, answer the following in a paragraph. When I say paragraph, the number of sentences should be at least 5 or 6 sentences. You can answer in more sentences, no problem. Describe the sufferings of Jean Valjean. So this question is very important from the examination point of view. Very easy to answer also. You should be able to answer all about his sufferings in 5 or 6 sentences. Answer the above questions before the next session. Now, the way to answer all these questions is read your lesson properly so far. It's only 1.5 pages, I think. Read, understand, and then without looking at the book, you should be able to recollect what you have read and answer the questions. Answer in your own words. If you make grammatical mistakes, it is okay. We can correct them. I don't want any by-hearting business. That is not acceptable. If you memorize something and write, it is a total waste of your time and you do not learn anything. I've told you this many times. If you want to improve your English, you have to understand what you're doing and then write it in your own words. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson as much as I did. And thank you very much, my dear students. And Sai Ram.